South Africa Tonight. I'm Shahan Ramkisi.
And I'm Ropiwa Manzana. Let's get straight into what's come out of the President's address this evening. So he speaks about social gatherings once again being prohibited under level 3. President Cyril Ramaphosa made the announcement a little earlier. He says funerals can now only be attended by 50 people.
Under the adjusted level 3 regulations, all indoor and outdoor gatherings will be prohibited for 14 days from midnight to night, except for funerals and other limited exceptions as detailed in the regulations, such as restaurants, museums, gyms, casinos. These will further be set out by the Minister.
All right, let's get reaction to this. We're joined by the ANC's Deputy Secretary General, Jessie Duarte. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. The President, of course, saying that it was very necessary to take these steps to make sure that we deal with the rising infections. You, of course, as the ANC, also going on a campaign to spread the message.
Well, Shahan, the word campaign might be misleading. One of the things we will do is use all our resources through our membership and through digital media to spread the message as much as we can. We will be, we've asked each of our branches, which is ward-based, to have a program within the branch to ensure that every household has a message, and possibly, if it's at all possible, to visit households, but to only be visited by people who have tested negative on COVID-19. We don't want to be spreading the virus ourselves, to make sure that people accept and understand the conditions of this level 3, and that we all work together to effectively drive down any further infections. We also would like our branches to assist the elderly and people who are in need, and that's the kind of campaign we'll be running. So it won't be a rah-rah-rah in-your-face campaign, but it will be a campaign.
Right. Now, we've just heard the President taking us back to an adjusted level 3. And I'm just wondering, do you think that we would have ended up here had it not been for the corruption? Had we gotten things right earlier on when we were first given this hard lockdown, that we wouldn't take the economy backwards as much as we have this evening?
I think that what has taken us back is the fact that we moved speedily into a level 1. People became used to the idea that this disease isn't very serious, we can continue with life as normal, and began to live life as if it was absolutely normal. For some odd reason, the virus left our consciousness. And yes, the PPE issues were difficult, but they've been resolved. And I don't believe that we're here because of the PPE, as you call it, the PPE corruption or any of that. We're here because of the super spreaders, the people who had gone out and had mass parties and mass gatherings, a continuation even, and I'm sorry to say this because we all might be good Christians, good Muslims, good Jewish people, but the fact of the matter is that gatherings are a vector. And it doesn't matter how big or how small a gathering is, that is a vector for spreading the disease. And this is why we're going to a very similar lockdown as we've had in level 3, even though it is risk adjusted. We would worry a great deal about the people who earn a daily living, people who sell food and vegetables off the streets, and we're quite concerned to see what kind of regulations will apply to them. We also understand the difficulty that the restriction on alcohol sales will bring to a number of businesses, but at the same time, the use of alcohol is a vector for what happens in hospitals, where hospital beds are being taken up by people who've had car accidents or stab wounds and other such incidents. So I think that we are here because, quite frankly, we didn't adhere to taking responsibility for our own lives and our own health, and that's what we need to do now. It's the most important decision that we will make for the rest of our lives, for hopefully a long one.
Mr. Duarte, there's no doubt in what you're saying that ultimately it's the responsibility of South Africans to stay safe and protect themselves, but you can't disregard or make it so minute that it hasn't had an impact on where we are today. The President promised South Africans that the reason we were going into a lockdown in the first place, the 21 days, was to improve our healthcare facilities, to improve capacity. Then we had blatant corruption, and the President and the ANC came out saying that we apologize for this corruption and we are trying to fix the problem. So that has had a major impact on where we are today, because in the first wave itself, we still expected around 14,000 infections per a day.
Shahan, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying that it did have an impact. Not having enough PPEs, not having enough... but I read the Auditor General's report as well, the most recent report that then looked at how the money was spent for COVID-19. And I think that report is quite instructive. And I'm not excusing any corruption that took place. All I'm saying is that what we need to do is to do what's important now. And we did apologize for what happened with people abusing the PPE money. And really those people have been punished. They're still waiting for the law to take its course, which is good, and it must take its course. But the issue we must face now is not only the corruption. We've got to face the reality that we are in the midst of a much more serious crisis than we had in the previous wave. And we don't know how many more waves we might face. And what we do need to do is to begin to look at behavioral change within our society itself. And that includes people not being corrupt. And it also includes making sure that where there are facts, we put them out as facts properly and decisively and uncompromisingly. At the same time, we work as a nation to undo our behavior, which is not assisting us at the moment. And we want to make a special appeal to the youth of South Africa.
Mr. Duarte, before I let you go, very briefly, I'd like your comment on the vaccine only now being available in the second quarter of this year. Why is this the case?
We joined, as you know, COVAX, a group which is a global group of procurement, and particularly did so with other African countries, so that we could collectively get the vaccine onto the continent. We will get the vaccine the second quarter of next year, which is if I'm not mistaken, that would be April or May next year, and that was the planning all along, and the money has been paid for the vaccine to come to South Africa. What we also have to accept is that initially the vaccine we get will not be a vaccine for 50 million people. It will be for the frontline workers, for the vulnerable, and so on. So the vaccine will be coming on, as an ongoing procurement. I don't know the details. What I am aware of is the confirmation of COVAX has happened.
But Mr. Duarte, surely there have been engagements with government in terms of trying to get it sooner, given that we've entered the second wave and we're seeing the variant as well.
Yes, there's been engagement, and we have accepted what the government has said, that the possibility to get it is in that first tranche when the vaccine is available in the second quarter of 2021, which is quite soon. It's 3 months from now, 4 months from now. And I think that what we need to do is to exercise a wee bit of patience. In the meanwhile, if we could, all of us, including the media, try to get people to change their behavior.
It's hard to do that. It's hard to have patience when you have thousands of people dying weekly. It's also hard to have patience when you see other countries getting a vaccine rollout, just already a couple of weeks ago. So there are many South Africans who will ask, why is government not reprioritizing? Why are we not moving money to areas where we can actually get the vaccine sooner? 3 months is a long time. I mean, you have to admit that.
We're also competing with other needs in our own country, but this is the most important.
Yes, Jessie, but let me just try, I want to try and make a point here.
The Minister of Finance said so. He said so when he said he's committed himself to finding this money, and it is also being done through the Solidarity Fund. And I don't think the government is shirking off, and I don't think the government
experts
is trying
think
to
so.
be unnecessarily delayed or lazy. I think they are doing their job.
Well, they missed the deadline, so they were delayed.
I've heard you, and I've heard you speak on this for almost 1.5 hours before I came on the show. We respect your view, and we understand the impatience of the people of South Africa, but we believe that we might not get this vaccine sooner than that. If it comes sooner, that will be great. But if it is confirmed for the second quarter of next year, then that is what it is confirmed for. The vaccine is something that is produced. It is not ready-made. And we are not the European Union, Shehan.
Yes, but Jessie, you and I know we've had the AstraZeneca vaccine being trialed in South Africa by Wits University. I spoke to Professor Shabir Mahdi, who's the vaccinologist leading that trial. He said to me that government did not make any attempts to contact AstraZeneca to get that vaccine in our country, even though our own people were used as guinea pigs in the trial. How does that make sense?
Well, I think what we can do, and what I certainly will do, is put the question to the Minister of Health to ask the question. But, you know, since you've already asked it, I'm sure he's listened. So we will also ask it of him, because we don't actually get into the nitty-gritty of where they're procuring from. But perhaps we should. I also listened to Professor, what's his name, from Van der Heef. Is it Van der Heef? I forget his name, I'm sorry. And I understand the frustration. But I think that what we now need to do is focus on what lies ahead of us. Yes, we need to get the vaccines as fast as we can. We now have a commitment for the second half of next year. And if there's any other commitment that can be made sooner than that, I'm sure that will be considered. And we will put pressure as well, because life is important and that comes first.
All right, it's good to hear that. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. The Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, Jessie Duarte.